Hello and welcome or welcome back. Today we are here with another true crime video. How is everyone doing? How have you been? I hope everything is, going well in all of your lives. So before we start, I want to do what we do best and give a shout out to a small business. And today it's going to be for my niece. My niece Lanaya, she has started a business. It is called Nye Junk Kit. So she creates phone cases and let's see, it says she has phone cases, iPad cases, AirPod cases. She can do it all. So it's got little charms. They have like little charms on them, and they can be whatever design you like. Hello Kitty, Disney, Lego, whatever you like. She has all of that. So I will make sure to link her Instagram in the bio. If you would like to look for her, it is NYYY_JUNKITT. Nye Junk Kit. Go ahead and give her a like on Instagram and follow her. And order something. Everything is so cute. Like these cases are so cute. Wait till you see them. They're super cute. All right. So for today's video, we are going to be in my hometown, actually, Springfield, Massachusetts. Today's story, it comes, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but it was a big shock. It was a big shock. So Springfield is not, the crime rate is what it is. It is what it is. Just like everywhere else, everywhere has somewhere good, somewhere bad, somewhere in the middle. But as far as serial killers, I believe this story that I'm speaking on is only the second. We had another back in the day, for a gentleman who had murdered multiple women. But this gentleman that we're talking about today, his name is Stewart Weldon. And just we're gonna start off by giving a little history on Stewart because it is very imperative as to understanding how Stewart got to be this serial killer. Okay. And again, everything in this video is, my opinion, things that I have researched, but not presumed to be 100% true or anyone else's views. Just this conversation, honey. This is tea. So Stewart Weldon was born in 1977. He grew up in Jamaica, Queens, New York. I guess his father had passed away when he was a teenager. There are some reports that say Stewart was, sexually assaulted. He experimented with drugs and then was introduced to, that kind of at a young age. Okay. So that's just, how his life started out as a young child. So in 1990, just after his father's death, Stewart and his mom ended up moving to Montclair, New Jersey. His mom was thinking that this would be a safer place and just, better for Stewart overall. But once there, Stewart got into high school and it was found out that Stewart was struggling with some learning disabilities. So that we know, just with past history, when you have a learning disability, it makes school harder and it tends to be the reason why children act out and do things that are, they're not supposed to be doing. So, by the time Stuart reached the age of 19, he and his friend, um, he and his friend decided to do some nonsense. So this at age 19 is where Stewart had his first run-in with the law. Um, in 96, Stewart and a friend of his were at the local mall in New Jersey, and they met three young ladies where, they decided to hang out with the girls. And, after they partied or did whatever they did, they decided they were going to be gentlemen and drop the young ladies off. Gentlemen. The first two ladies were dropped off to their respective homes. Fine. Have a nice night. We'll talk to you later. However, when it came down to the third young lady, they did not drop her off. It turns out that the third young lady was kidnapped and sexually assaulted by Stewart and his friend. Stewart was then charged with a sexual offense as well as a weapons charge. And this is, again, still in New Jersey. While in New Jersey, Stewart was found to be picking up women that were street workers, or drug addicts, just women that were not someone that you would per se bring home to mom. Just, he started going down this very downward slope, and this is where it landed him. So in 2005, Stewart is now 28 years old. Um, Stewart committed assault with a deadly weapon and received a 3-year prison sentence. This was because, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. When he was 28, yes, okay. So in 2005, Stewart was 28 years old. He committed assault with a deadly weapon and received a 3-year prison sentence. So again, another brush with the law, just doing things that he knew, a downward spiral. Once he was released, he and his mom then picked up again, and his mom moved them both to Springfield, Massachusetts. And just a little background, Springfield is the largest city in Western Mass and the largest city in Hampden County. Springfield is also known to have like lots of poverty and drugs, and said to be a distribution center for heroin between Boston and New York, which was somewhat of, that was appealing to Stewart because this is what this is what he liked. He liked to drugs, he liked the crime of things, you know. So, but unbeknownst to his mom, she didn't know all of this. She thought she was moving him yet again to somewhere safer, less crime, where he can do better, have better influences. We will later find out that it was so far from the actual facts, okay? So Stewart became very well known to women that were street workers in Springfield, Massachusetts as well. Well known in circles known for drugs and criminal activity because again, in the true crime of it all, this is what he likes to do. This is his MO. So in July of 2010, Stewart broke into a home, and when apprehended, he violently attacked a police officer, receiving a 2-year prison sentence. So we have gone from sexually kidnapping and sexually assaulting young women to a weapons and assault charge. And now he is violently attacking a police officer, okay, after breaking in someone's home and being apprehended. So in January of 2012, Stewart was released from prison early, and in the years following his release, Stewart's criminal career soon escalated further and became more and more sinister. So, as we know with true crime, things tend to go from bad to worse. So, oh shit, baby, this ain't gonna be good. Somebody need to be under the jail. So, sorry. Stewart started dealing drugs, which made it easier for him to lure women into his car and into his home. These women would go in his home thinking, they were going to get drugs and perform some sort of sexual act, only to find out that it was way more. Stewart was physically and sexually assaulting these women, to the point of almost near death experiences, is what it's described to be. So now that he has figured out what kind of women are more vulnerable and more a lot easier for him to apprehend, or excuse me, not apprehend, to intimidate and easily lure into his home, he is now selling drugs. He is now out working with these women that are out on the street, because he in his mind he's thinking nobody's gonna look for them, nobody's gonna believe them if they make a police claim, things like that. So at 40 years old, Stewart has a criminal history that includes kidnapping, burglary, sexual offenses, assault with a deadly weapon, 2 prison sentences, and now luring women into his basement and torturing them to near death, and still not drawing the attention of the police. So let's pause there, because with all of this criminal background rap sheet CVS receipt that he has, it brings up the question of why this man was even allowed to be out of jail. He's going from state to state, committing all of these crimes and just acting out, and he's getting a slap on the wrist. Why? Why is the criminal justice system not keeping this man in jail? He's a menace to society. Let's just call it what it is. He's a menace to society. He should not have been out of jail. And I'm surprised that he was released early after assaulting a police officer, because that's the one thing they don't play about, honey. They don't play about themselves. They'll play about us, but they don't play about themselves. So that is something that is a major question with a lot of things. The one question that I always have for true crime is like, these criminals and these, murderers or these repeat offenders are the way they are and are able to commit these heinous crimes that they do because they're let out of jail. They're let right back into society to come down and prey upon us law-abiding citizens, honey. I don't know. Anyway, the women do not go to the police because, like I said, they believe that, they'll either be arrested for, promising the sexual act, or that they won't believe because of who they are, because of their lifestyles. So the matter just goes unresolved. It's said that Stewart felt that since the police weren't punishing him or catching his crimes, that he would continue because he felt like, oh, well, I did this and they gave me a little bit of time. I did this and they let me out early. So I'm just going to keep doing it because they don't care about me, honey. They let me do what I want to do. So Stewart, and what they're saying, what I read was that Stewart felt in his mind was like, he can do what he wanted to do because there would not be much consequence for it. So this now brings us to December of 2017. The women that Stewart is now luring into his basement are starting to vanish. And everybody's trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? What's happening? Police have no idea where these women are, but 5 months into 5 months after a woman by the name of America Lydon, who was 33 years old from Springfield, went missing, police then start to believe that Stewart is involved. And I want to make sure I say this correctly. So we have America Lydon, who was 33 years old. She's a mother and had just completed a rehabilitation drug rehabilitation program. She was reported missing in December on December 1st of 2017. We also have Ernestine Ryans, 47 years old. She's a mother and she was a soon-to-be grandmother. She was reported missing March 18th of 2018. And lastly, we have Kayla Escalante, who was 26 years old. She's a mother from Ludlow. She was struggling with drug addiction and she was estranged from her family. She was reported missing in April of 2018. Okay. But like I said, 5 months after America Lydon went missing, police had started to believe that Stewart was involved. Okay. In all three of these women's disappearance. We're now at May 27th of 2017. Stewart was pulled over for a normal traffic stop. When he went, I think there was like a busted tail light or some sort is what I think I read. So police flashed their lights. And again, this is in a neighborhood where, drugs and alcohol and prostitution are very well known in the neighborhood. So they're looking for violations because they want to be able to get these people off the street. They know if you're in this area, we know what you're here for, type of thing. So I believe it said that there was a busted taillight on Stewart's car. Police flashed their lights to pull him over. Stewart pulls over, stops his car, but as police began to get out of their cars, baby, he took off, which caused a chase. Stewart speeds away. So at this point, now that they're chasing him, they know you're trying to hide something and we're going to figure it out. However, they get him stopped. They stop him. They get him out of the car and they notice that there is a passenger, a female passenger From what I read, Stewart gets out of the car. He's in handcuffs. He's screaming at the police. She has a gun. She has a gun. She has a gun. So they get around to the passenger side where this woman is sitting. She is tied and bound in the passenger seat, screaming for them to help her. So all of this now gives police the right to search the car. So once they search the vehicle, they find the woman tied and bound, and the woman began screaming, and police realized she was severely injured. She was severely, severely injured. Um, she tells police that she has been held against her will for 30 days, one whole month. She has been kidnapped by Stewart. She was injured and complains of pain in her leg. Stewart had been abusing her and hitting her with an object. The object turned out to be a hammer. She was rushed to the hospital where she was almost in danger of losing her leg. So this woman is in the passenger seat screaming for her life while this man is telling him that she is basically holding him captive. Come to find out, he had kidnapped her. He was sexually assaulting her. He was beating her. Literally, the woman almost lost her leg. So, and again, I'm not 100% sure, but when this story first broke, that this is how they found him, like this is how everything, got the ball rolling, I vaguely remember the news reports stating that there was a child in the car. And I cannot get that out of my head. And I didn't do my due diligence. I wasn't going to mention it, but I didn't do my due diligence to research it, but I almost am 90% sure that when this story first broke, news reports were saying that there was a child and a woman, or a woman and a child in the car with him. Again, I don't know if that is true. Again, these are just, girl, we having tea. This is just my opinion. Don't go there. But nonetheless, this woman was tied and bound in this car, and very much so near death as well. Okay. At this point, the woman is taken into the hospital. She is, taken care of at the hospital. They make sure her leg is fine. Stewart is arrested. He is charged with kidnapping, threatening to commit a crime, carrying a dangerous weapon, and resisting arrest. And even with all of this, even with everything she has said about being held captive for 30 days and being assaulted and everything they found in this car and how this woman's, looks, um, detectives still don't have enough to search Stewart's house. They can't even go into his home. This woman is telling them that he held her captive in his home for 30 days and assaulted her and beat her. And they said they still couldn't go to the house and go in there and search it. So do with that information what you will. So Stewart was arraigned the next day and held on $1 million bail. Yeah, 1 million. Baby, y'all could have just gave him no bail because what? That man wasn't going nowhere either way. Okay? Not that he needed to any damn way, because child, menace to society, like I said. So this now brings us to May 30th of 2018. Just 3 days after Stewart was arrested, police received a call from Stewart's adopted mother complaining about a smell in the basement. She said that she thought it was a dead animal and was afraid to go down there and check herself, child. Okay, we're going to pause again because I'm a mother. I know some of you are parents or aunties and uncles, or just, got some kids in your life, you godparents, honorary auntie, what have you. We know, right? We know. I, deep in my heart, and again, this is my opinion. This is nowhere, I didn't read this, nobody said this, none of that. But deep in my heart, I think she knew that this boy was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That's why she kept moving him from state to state. I mean, hello, look at the previous charges. She knew. And I think when she found out that that boy was in jail on a $1 million bond, she said, oh, hell yeah, let's get him going. She went down there and told them police, come get these bodies. She knew what was going on in that house. You can't pay me. You can't tell me. You can't convince me. She didn't know what he was doing in there. I don't care. I don't care. There's no way. We know what kind of people we are raising. People say, I didn't have no idea. First of all, that smell didn't just happen overnight. This dead animal smell didn't happen overnight. And even if it is an animal, right? Because we haven't gotten to the part of what it is. I mean, we know why we hear it's true crime. But even if it was an animal, we know how murderers, start out. Serial killers, we know how they start out. They start messing with animals and killing them and burning the wings on birds and feeding little squirrels and shit, poison. We know. We know. If you didn't, you wouldn't be here watching this true crime. You know what the true crime of it all is. She knew. And I feel like she took that as her opportunity to blow the whistle. And blow the whistle she did, baby. Because police entered the home and immediately, they hit the property, baby. They didn't even get in the house. They hit the property and immediately were kicked, punched, and jabbed by that funky ass smell of death. Yeah. Yeah. And one thing the police gonna know is the smell of death, because they know that. That is, unfortunately, that is their job. They know. They know. So it's said that detectives could smell the odor almost 50 feet outside of the home. Okay, they got up to the driveway and was like, oh, something ain't right. Something ain't right. So they enter the basement where they follow the smell, which leads them to the basement. And get down into the basement. They walk deeper into the basement and enter a bathroom. But so the way the house is set up, it's said to be a home with 2 apartments. So the house, the main house, and then there's the basement, I guess, has like it's like a finished basement. So it's got a bedroom, a bathroom. I'm not sure if there's like a kitchenette down there, but it did have a bedroom and a bathroom where a full running bathroom. So it says they enter the basement and enter a bathroom where they found a body in the bathtub, extremely decomposed. Okay. They believe the body in the bathtub was the most recent victim who had gone missing around April or May. And because of an ankle tattoo that they were able to see, police are able to identify this as 27-year-old Kayla Escalante. When they found her in the tub, she was bound and gagged. Police then go outside to the garage, and find a second severely decomposed body who they believed was abducted in April of that year. So I think we're still in 2018. Confirmed. Detectives were able to confirm that this was 47-year-old Ernestine Ryans. Her body was dumped and loosely covered with cardboard. She was in the garage. As soon as you walked in, you could see just cardboard boxes thrown on top of her body, just kind of thrown in there, But this is not it. Police wouldn't just find 2 bodies. The very next day, detectives found what looked to be disturbed dirt underneath a shed in the backyard. And with the help of a cadaver dog, detectives started digging and found the body of a third victim. Bound with internet cords and computer cables, almost completely decomposed. Like, this body was in skeletal form. They said that the body had very little tissue. This body had been here for quite some time. But detectives were able to use dental records and identify this as 34-year-old America Lydon. Police said that the women went into the home when his mother was there and made it out alive. So when everything started and he started luring these women into his car with the promise of drugs or whatever, and they promised him whatever they were going to promise to do for the drugs, whether they pay him or perform sexual acts, whatever that may be. If his mother, he was bringing these women to the house when his mother was there. And if his mother was there, they were making it out alive. Which brings me back to what I said about his mother knowing something was going on, right? But it said that when his mom was away for extended period of times is when the murders would happen. So these 3 women, unfortunately, went to this man's house and his mother was not there, and he knew she was going to be gone for an extended amount of time. So he was able to torture, sexually assault, and unfortunately unalive these women. I also read that the basement, like there was a bedroom in the basement, like I said, because it was finished. The bedroom was fitted with soundproofing. What is it called? Like, if you have a studio and you put the soundproofing stuff up, he had that in the bedroom to mask out the women's screams. We are now at May 31st of 2018. Needless to say, this news was shocking not only to the residents of Springfield, Massachusetts, but to the neighbors of Stewart, his immediate neighbors. This neighborhood that the house was in is a very well-known neighborhood. It's I think the address was 1330 Page Boulevard. So if you're familiar with Springfield, Page Boulevard, Sumner Ave, or Page Boulevard and St. James Ave, that's all very busy area. There's like residential area. There's shopping, like groceries, CVS, and just very busy, hustle and bustle, families, children playing in the neighborhood, just a lot of this normalcy. And so for this to be going on right under their noses, everybody in the area was just like, whoa, like, how did we not know this, So then June of 2018, Stewart is charged with the murders of America Lydon, Ernestine Ryans, and Kayla Escalante, along with previous charges, the previous charges of the kidnap and assault from this young lady that was in the car. Stewart is definitely not getting out of jail anytime soon, right? So with the information of him being in jail and being held and probably not getting out for some time, more victims start to come forward, right? They start to come forward with claims of what he has done to them. Sexual assault, kidnapping, holding them against their will. A lot of the women are said to have decided to come forward because they didn't realize that he had did this to their friends. Like, they knew these women that he had murdered, and they just thought, unfortunately, when you live the type of lifestyle that these women were living, going missing or not showing back up for a few days or what have you is not unheard of. So they tend to not think too much of it because they said sometimes they move on to new neighborhoods. Sometimes they decide to go to rehab. Sometimes they decide to, the families will pick them up and they'll keep them for a little bit and then they'll come back or what have you. So they didn't realize that anything tragic had happened to these women. So this is why they had come and spoke up. So police take note that since Stewart had been in jail, a series of rapes that had been happening had stopped. So while Stewart Weldon was in jail, police are like, okay, we had all these reports of these women being raped and or what have you. Now that he's in jail, none of that's happening, right? Like, why is that? So police are now looking at Stewart Weldon as a suspect for these rapes as well. It is said that he was extremely brutal in his rape and having someone die was fun for him. So this is what it was for him. Like, they're saying that I think a psychologist had said that, like, him raping the women was one thing, but when he was able to unalive them, it was like a whole other thing for him. Like, it was exciting. It was the thrill of it for him. which is why they said he preyed on the women that he preyed on, because he knew that, if they had their substance abuse issues or what have you, nobody would really be looking for them, because he knew that, like I said, because of the lifestyle, it wasn't unheard of them to go missing for some time. So we are now at August 17th of 2018. 8 cases of rape are added to Stewart's charges, thanks to the testimony of these survivors that made it out, of the home or the car or what have you. And with all of this looming over his head and all of this evidence that police and detectives now have, Mr. Weldon, honey, man, he pled not guilty to all charges. Every last one. He said, nope, wasn't me. I wasn't there. I didn't do it. I don't know. I ain't seen it. I don't know. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Mind you, 3 of the charges are murder for women that were found in your house. But you didn't do it. Okay. Stewart pleads not guilty to all the charges, but prosecutors fear that because of the nature of the crimes and the accounts of the survivors, that Stewart could possibly, plead insanity, which you gotta be a little crazy to do the shit he was doing. Let's just be honest. You got to be a cuckoo for Cocoa Puff. Ain't nobody in their right mind doing the shit he was out here doing. Not saying he should get off any punishment for it, but that nigga crazy. But the nature of the crime scene isn't the only reason prosecutors fear Stewart could plead insanity. Some of the victims described other alarming behavior. So these women that were telling their stories, the survivors of Mr. Weldon, were telling the detective stories about how he was acting and just the strange things he was doing and saying. One of the victims claimed he put candles on the floor in a pentagon shape. One mentioned that he had pointed to an area under the stairs. So we're in the basement, down the stairs. She said he was mentioning an area under those basement stairs. And he said that demons lived there and he would throw salt under their child. Child, only demon under them stairs is you, Mr. Weldon. And they said that he would ramble satanic things. So with all of this, the prosecutors are worried that, maybe he could get off and be deemed, insane and not get the time that he deserves or not be held responsible like he should be for all of these different crimes that he's committed. So now detectives have to find a way to prove that Stewart was sane and had the ability to conduct himself in a lawful manner if he should did choose so. So basically they need to pull all of their evidence together and make it stick that this man did these horrible, horrific things to these women consciously. He knew what he was doing. So while Stewart is still in custody, still pleading not guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder and 49 other charges relating to a total of 11 victims. 11 victims, 49 charges, and 3 first-degree murder charges. Okay. Stewart's trial was set to start in April of 2020. And in between this, investigators find a video on Mr. Weldon's laptop. Not so much of a confession, but evidence of him trying to cover up what he had done. If I can, without, YouTube getting rid of the video or, of us getting in trouble, I will try to link that video of him and his laptop. But, long story short, he was basically saying, I did what I did, and it is what it is. Literally. Okay. So detectives started connecting the evidence and essentially were able to show and prove that Stewart was sane while committing these crimes due to this video. So not only with the video, but like I said, they took all the evidence, piece by piece, and they put it all together and made it so that, it made sense that this man was sane. He not only, I think they took the evidence of the video versus, how the women's bodies were found and things like just the whole manner of the situation. Okay. In April 2020, Stewart's trial was postponed due to the C pandemic. But during that time, a judge ordered that Stewart must undergo a mental health evaluation because, again, we want to make sure this man is not going to be able to plead insanity, right? A new trial was then set for October of 2021. But 2 weeks now, 2 weeks before the trial began, Stewart changed his plea. Baby, that doctor must have told him, baby, go and get your ass back in jail. Ain't nothing wrong with you, but you crazy, all right. But baby, you knew you was crazy and you knew what you was doing. Stewart was found not to be insane. September 30th of 2021, pleading guilty to all charges. Girl, he didn't change his plea, baby. He said, I did all of it. Now all of a sudden he just did all of it, okay? He changes his plea to guilty to all charges against him. Stewart returns to court for sentencing. On this date, as we know, when there is a sentence, when, someone is about to be sentenced, when there is a murder involved or some sort where there are victims involved, I should say, victim impact statements are read by either the victims or their families. So that was done in this case as well. We got to hear from some of the women who had come forward and were able to testify against him because they had survived. And we also got to hear from the families of America Leiden, Ernestine Ryans, and Kayla Escalante as well. I will try my best to link those videos as well. They were very touching. So once that was done, Stewart was then sentenced to 3 life sentences to be served consecutively. While giving this man 3 life sentences does not bring these young ladies back, I am happy that their families were able to get some justice and get some closure, however that may look, whatever that may mean. Because we know not only losing someone, it's one thing to have someone missing and not know where they are. It's one thing to have a family member that has some sort of a substance abuse issue and they're struggling with life. All of these women were mothers. Ernestine Ryan, her daughter was pregnant, and she said in her victim statement that she gave birth to her daughter not knowing if her mother was alive or not. So her granddaughter will never meet her, None of their grandchildren will, now that I think about it. They all had children, and they're going to go on and live their lives and have their own children, and they will never know their grandmothers. Again, I go back to just trying to understand the justice system and why people who present such vicious and sinister people are just let back out into the world. It's not like this man just one time, stole a car, he didn't just rob it, break into somebody's house one time and he went to jail. He was escalating, and you can see that in the crimes he committed from his teenage years on up. And he was, his mother, like I said, I feel like his mother knew to some extent that this man was not okay. He should not have been out here. And that's why she kept moving him state to state, trying to figure it out instead of getting him the help that he needed, because he clearly needed mental health help. I don't know. I just want to say we are praying for the families of America Leiden, Ernestine Ryans, and Kayla Escalante, as well as the other 11 victims that had to endure the abuse from Stewart Weldon in his home. I pray for the young lady that he and his friend assaulted back when they were in high school. And I pray for his mother. Because I'm sure she never in a million years thought that this is the man that she birthed. Yeah, that's all I have for today. Like I said, I will do my best to link those videos for the victim impact statements, as well as the video of him talking to. Girl, he was talking to the people in New Jersey. I don't know. He said, "Hey, Jersey, I did what I did." I said, "Child, you." Okay. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next true crime video. Have a good day.